In a rather large house, the sound of people arguing could be heard. It seemed that neither of them wanted to stop the argument. They were Jungkook and Park Yin, a married couple who got married just 1 month ago. However, during their marriage, nothing good happened between them. Every day, they would always argue, even over trivial matters. In fact, newlyweds should be affectionate with each other, but they showed no sign of that since they got married a month ago. Of course, this was because they didn't love each other. Then why did they get married? It was because they were arranged to marry by their parents. Both Jungkook and Yin didn't accept the arranged marriage, but the pressure from their parents forced them to go through with this unwanted marriage. Yin folded her arms in front of her and looked disdainfully at the man in front of her. Hey, don't you understand anything at all? When washing clothes in the washing machine, don't mix white clothes with colored ones. Look now, because of your actions, all the white clothes are faded. Now, how are you going to take responsibility for this? Yin was annoyed by her husband's actions this morning when she found out Jungkook was doing laundry but placing the clothes incorrectly. Jungkook, who didn't want to be blamed, of course had to defend himself. It's already done. Just throw away all those clothes and I'll buy new ones later. Yin was shocked and surprised, looking incredulously at what he said. Buy new ones? Hey, do you think all problems can be solved with money? You've never changed since forever. Always use your money and power to get what you want. What do you mean by that? Since when have I always used money to solve everything? Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time with you right now because I have a very important meeting. I've repeatedly told you to hire a maid in this house. I've told you repeatedly, you can find one yourself, but you never take the initiative. I'm busy too. I have many projects to take care of. Jungkook just sighed. He finally got up from there, already in his work attire, to go to his company, leaving Yin stomping her foot in frustration at her husband's careless and selfish attitude. Stupid man, just because he's the CEO of a company, he thinks he can buy everything with money? Yin tried to calm herself down after a lot of emotions in the morning. That's their everyday life, with never-ending arguments between the two of them. Every day, there would be arguments between the two of them, making Yin wonder if Jungkook was really the right person for her, as she felt he didn't care about her at all. Back in school, they were enemies. Yin has been a very smart girl since her school days and she didn't want anyone to take her position. However, Jungkook's arrival at her school made her quite stressed because he was also very smart and often snatched her position. Since then, they have never gotten along because of the rivalry they had since their school days. Yin was relaxing at home, watching television, when suddenly her phone rang, displaying the name of her mother-in-law. Hello, Mom. What's up? Hello, dear. Today, I have a lot of leftover food at home because I had an event with my friends. There's still plenty of food, so I've sent some to your house. Among them are Jungkook's favorite dishes. Could you please take some of the food to his office when it arrives at your house? He'll be happy because he hasn't had my cooking in a long time. Yin, could you do that for me? Yin couldn't refuse her mother-in-law's request, even though she was reluctant to go there. All right, Mom, I'll deliver lunch to Jungkook. Great. Thank you, dear. I'll hang up now. The call ended with a sigh of frustration from Yin. True to her mother-in-law's words, a few minutes later, the doorbell rang and it was a courier delivering food from Jungkook's mother. Yin then quickly prepared lunch for Jungkook and got ready to take it to his office. After finishing, she hailed a taxi to her husband's company. It took her about 20 minutes to reach the company area. Yin quickly entered the building and headed to the reception desk. Good morning. I'd like to meet Jungkook. The receptionist glanced at her from head to toe, leaving Yin puzzled by the receptionist's behavior. Have you made an appointment with our CEO? Yin shook her head slowly. No one in the company knew that she was the wife of the CEO. Since she had never visited the company before, it was her first time coming as Jungkook's wife. It was understandable that the receptionist didn't know her status, and perhaps they weren't familiar with Yin in her normal attire since they might have only seen her in her wedding dress and made up during their wedding party. Shortly after, Lee Siwon, her husband's assistant, appeared. Madam, you've come here. Yes, my mother-in-law asked me to deliver this to my husband. He's in his office, right? Yes, he is in his office now. Let me escort you there. Fortunately, I happened to pass by. I just came back from outside. Meanwhile, the receptionist was genuinely surprised to find out that the woman in front of her was the lady of the company. She apologized to Yin and admitted that she didn't recognize her. Finally, Yin followed Siwon to Jungkook's office. Jungkook's office was located on the top floor, the 20th floor. When they arrived at that floor, Yin furrowed her brows. Why are there only 2 rooms on this floor? That's because Mr. Jungkook doesn't like anyone entering his floor, especially his office. So, on this floor, There's the CEO's office and mine as his personal assistant. Typical. He still hasn't changed, individualistic and doesn't want to be disturbed. He thinks this world belongs only to him. And, oh yes, it's because Mr. Jungkook once mentioned that he doesn't like women coming up to this floor. So, you're the first woman on this floor, madam. Still the same. Always considering women as dirt. How disgusting can he be towards women? Maybe he'll break out in hives if a woman touches him. For this reason, her lips curved into a smile. Thank goodness, if he's still like that. Finally, they reached the CEO's door. Suwon handed a card to her. Please use this, madam, to enter his office. In the future, you may keep this access card as you will surely come here often. Well then, I'll take my leave. Suwon bowed slightly before he entered his own office. Yin looked at the access card in her hand. There's no way I'll come here often. I'm only here because of his mother's request. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother coming here. Yin swiped the access card and a small beep was heard. She immediately entered her husband's office. That's when she was surprised to see Jungkook and a woman very close to each other, which made her inexplicably angry. Yin cleared her throat briefly, causing Jungkook and the woman to quickly move away. It turned out the woman was an employee of this company. Without saying a word, the woman hurriedly left the room. Meanwhile, Jungkook got up from his desk, his face flushed red as he unbuttoned his shirt and threw it into the trash. Yin was puzzled by his actions. What are you doing here? Jungkook then went to a corner of his office, where several new shirts, suits, and coats were neatly hung. He immediately picked a neatly hung shirt and put it on. Jungkook began buttoning up his shirt one by one while staring at his wife. Yin placed the lunchbox on the table near the sofa. Here, your mother asked me to bring this lunch for you, but it seems you're very busy, huh? The last sentence of her statement sounded like sarcasm to him. What do you mean? You sound like you're accusing me of cheating right now. Yin raised both her hands, chuckled sarcastically and looked at her husband with a scornful gaze. I didn't say anything. You're the one drawing that conclusion. Besides, as Suwon said earlier, you don't like having women on this floor. Turns out you're just pretending to be pure by saying that. But deep down, you really want to do it. Do what do you mean? Park Yin, you're getting bolder by the day. Can't you show a little respect to me as your husband? Can't you control your words when you talk to me? Jungkook's voice started to raise slightly, while Yin immediately scoffed and looked disdainfully at her husband. Don't pretend that I have to respect you. Do you respect me as your wife? You've never considered me your wife all this time, so why should I respect you now? Jungkook took a deep breath. His wife hadn't changed since forever, stubborn and always ready to challenge him, even after they got married, as it was happening now. Stop it. I don't want to argue with you anymore. My concentration for work could be ruined. Who started it first? Fine, I'll leave. I'm sorry for wasting your time with your woman. Jungkook slightly opened his mouth, looking incredulous at what she said. Hey you. Jungkook wanted to explain the actual situation to her. However, Yin immediately walked to the door and slammed it quite hard, leaving Jungkook standing there, still shocked by his wife's actions. Jungkook sat back down on his office chair, leaning back and closing his eyes, his fingers now massaging his own forehead. Why should I even explain this to her? It's up to her, how she wants to perceive it. Whatever I explain, she probably won't want to hear it. But somehow, deep down, he didn't actually want this situation to happen. There was a part of him that felt unwilling if Yin misunderstood him. His wife's face still lingered in his mind. He could read how she looked at him earlier, disappointed, angry, and hurt. Of course, they were already married. Jungkook also understood his wife's characteristics quite well. He knew how Yin always wanted to win, to be respected and honored, with a high ego and pride, always competing with him and never wanting to lose. Back in school, maybe I was her rival, but now I'm her husband. Doesn't she realize that? Jungkook opened his eyes, took a slow breath, thinking about how his wife really disrupted his concentration at work, coupled with the misunderstanding that just happened. It really made his head feel like it was about to explode. Finally, with force, he grabbed the phone handle on his desk and immediately called Suwon. Yes, sir. Come to my office right away. Okay, sir. 5 minutes later. Why was that woman able to enter my office? Who, sir? Who else but that damn woman? Siwon's eyes widened instantly. Was it because the boss's wife stormed out and slammed the door? Was there a misunderstanding here? He began to curse himself for all this happening due to his carelessness. It was no wonder his access card to enter was missing. It must have been that damn woman who took it from his office when he stepped out earlier. I'm sorry, sir. This is all due to my mistake and carelessness. No wonder my access card was missing. It seems she took it when I stepped out earlier. Prepare a termination letter for that woman right now. Give her compensation. I don't want to see her in my office again. That woman is truly disgusting. Suwon shivered in horror hearing his boss's words. What's wrong with his boss? Was he allergic to women? But of course, he didn't dare to ask. He was only assigned to obey his boss's orders if he didn't want to be replaced by someone else. Yes, sir. I'll prepare the termination letter now and arrange her compensation. With that said, I'll take my leave now. Meanwhile, elsewhere. Ugh, I'm so annoyed with him. Yin vented all her frustrations to her two friends, Mina and Bam Bam. Both of them exchanged glances and smiled at her. It seems like your arguments with him have never ended since school days. Can't you two just get along, huh? That's impossible. Someone as arrogant and conceited as him would never want to make peace with me. He has to be the one to apologize first. Only then will I consider reconciling with him. If not, then I won't bother. If that's the case, nothing will ever get resolved, Yin. You've been married for over a month now, but there's been no progress in your relationship at all. Seriously? Aren't you tired, Yin? Yin fell silent. Meanwhile, Bam Bam flicked her forehead, making her wince and glare at him. That hurts, you know. You're a woman, yet your ego is sky high. Don't you realize that he's your husband now? Maybe you competed with him back in school, but now, do you still see him as your rival? Right now, you're not rivals anymore, Yin, but partners, life partners. Stop this competitiveness with him and get rid of your sky-high ego. Why are you defending him? I know, it's because you're both men. Fine then, go ahead and be his friend, not mine anymore. Let Mina be my only friend. Hey, I'm giving you this advice because I care about you as a friend. I don't want your marriage to crumble over time. Yin, this time, I agree with what Bam Bam said. Lower your ego. I'm sure Jungkook is also trying to lower his. If later he starts to give in to you, start softening your heart too, okay? Yin just pouted at the words of her two friends, but deep down, she also realized that what they said was actually right. She herself was starting to get tired of this constant tension with her husband. But, once again she sighed. Couldn't Jungkook be more sensitive and see her as his wife? Not as a stranger living in the same house and even sleeping in the same bedroom. Oh my. Yin returned home at exactly 9 p.m. after hanging out with her friends earlier. She was driven home by her friend Bam Bam by his car. Thank you, Bam Bam. You're welcome. Now go inside quickly. However, suddenly Jungkook appeared between them. Yin and Bam Bam immediately turned to him. Of course, Jungkook also knew Bam Bam because they went to the same school before and they were all classmates. Bam Bam looked at Jungkook with a thin smile, trying to be friendly with him. Good evening, Jungkook. I escorted Yin home. Yeah, I know. He shifted his gaze to his wife, and moments later, he grabbed her hand. Let's go inside. Jungkook pulled Yin's hand with him. Yin was quite surprised by the sudden pull. Bam Bam. I'll go in first. See you later. Thank you for escorting me. Bam Bam just remained silent, waving his hand at her, a thin smirk evident on his lips. Seems like Jungkook is jealous now. Well, hopefully after this, they both realize their feelings. I'm tired of seeing them like this all the time. Bam Bam immediately got into his car and drove off, leaving Jungkook and Yin's house behind. Yin and Jungkook entered their house. Once inside, Jungkook pressed Yin's body against the wall, surprising her with his actions. Especially now, Jungkook was staring at her with a sharp gaze. They were in very close proximity. She could feel Jungkook's breath brushing against her face, his cologne still lingering despite being sprayed on his body all day. Her husband was still wearing his complete work suit, although his tie was now loosened and the top buttons of his shirt were undone, indicating that he had just returned from the office. What's wrong? Let me go. Yin tried to free herself, but Jungkook held her shoulder tighter. Are you seeking revenge on me? What? I don't understand what you mean. You want revenge for what happened today, right? Now you're doing it with Bam Bam. Yin finally understood his words. She immediately pushed his hand away and looked at him angrily. Are you implying that I'm cheating on you like you did today? Is that what you mean? I'm not that low to do the same thing, especially with my own friend. Bam Bam and I did meet earlier, but we weren't alone. Mina was also there. If you don't believe me, I don't care. Just deal with your woman. As Yin was about to leave, her hand was again firmly held by him. Can't you respect me even a little, huh? Yin rolled her eyes lazily. This question again. It never ends. Talking to her husband, Yin was truly fed up now. I've told you everything. Besides, you never respected me as your wife, so why should I respect you? Don't expect too much. Hearing his wife's response only increased his frustration. He pulled her waist and kissed her lips roughly. Yin widened her eyes at his action. She tried to break free from the kiss, but Jungkook pressed his neck and waist, making Yin unable to resist his strength. Her hands were still on his shoulders, trying to push him away, but all her movements were in vain. Meanwhile, Jungkook slightly bit her lips to open her mouth, then he inserted his tongue, making the kiss even more intense. His head was moving left and right. The sound of lips and kissing, along with heavy breaths, could be heard clearly in their ears. Her hands on her husband's shoulder now stopped pushing. Unconsciously, she began to softly squeeze his suit. Her strength now seemed to vanish into thin air. By now, Yin felt like her breath was running out. Jungkook, knowing this, released the kiss. They looked at each other with heavy breaths. This was the first time they kissed after being married for a long time. She really didn't expect Jungkook to do this to her. She lowered her head to hide the redness on her face. His hands were still embracing her body to keep her in her current position. You always say that. I never considered you as my wife. Okay, fine. Tonight, I will truly make you my wife, so those words will never come out of your mouth again. Huh? What do you mean?